This brief video presentation discusses how to use AI to support safety culture surveys, and this allows you to avoid incorrect interpretations of findings. It's based on the work of James Curry and his student Imad Zini. Now, as of late spring 26, AI can do lots of things. It can load data from Excel files, it can find trends in data, it can make beautiful charts and graphs, write persuasive narratives, generate Word documents, and do complex statistical analysis. AI also allows you to test questions and baseline survey responses as part of an overall safety culture survey. When you're running a survey, especially a safety culture survey, wording can have a significant impact on responses. The way questions are worded shifts the tone of the responses. You could have social desirability, leading wording, ambiguity. You could also have questions which might be viewed negative towards coworkers or managers, where you're really picking up the tone against the manager or the coworkers. Cross-industry comparisons are difficult because surveys use different questions and wording. Organizations need early signals which items are expected to be high and low relative to a baseline in order to interpret surveys. And what we can do is use LLMs for benchmarking, interpreting, and improving survey instruments. Now, for survey design, we can use LLMs to identify which questions are different than standard responses. And this is a simple prompt from our guidance note. And you basically say, you are a survey design expert specializing in Likert scale instrument development. I am providing you a list of survey questions. For each question, analyze the question. Give me the original question, the bias, if any, an explanation of the bias, clarity score, whether the question is clear, an expected average response, a recommendation for rewording that removes the bias while preserving the original intent, and then you give it who the survey will be given to, and the Likert scale, and the questions. And this quick check will avoid common errors in strong wordings, or wordings where you have maybe a double barrel question, which is really asking two separate items. The following is sample output from the prompt. And what we see is that for every question, it gives a potential bias, an explanation of the bias, clarity, and an average estimated score. And for each question, you should review the question and determine whether the rewording is better than the original wording. Just because the LLM says a question is weak does not necessarily mean you should rewrite it. Now, let's look at question 4. Onshore managers never put schedule or cost above safety. And this has two issues. One is polarity, as the second one is it's double-barreled. And the word never is absolute. And the question also is double-barreled in that schedule or cost is two separate items. And finally, reverse polarity is the absolute creates response confusion. So a better wording of that is onshore managers prioritize safety over schedule pressures. So it's written in the positive, it avoids the word never. Now, if we leave the question as it is, as an absolute question, you can see that the estimated average response is 3.4, which is significantly lower than any other question in the survey. So when the survey is given, you would anticipate always this question to be low, which might make interpretation of the results difficult. You might say schedule pressures are an issue, which they quite probably are, but part of that issue is using the word never in the question. We ran this on multiple LLMs, and what we have found is fairly consistent results for what it says. So for the onshore managers never put schedule above cost and safety, you can see that it's almost identical. The wording come up with Opus as well as ChatGTP. Onshore managers prioritize safety over schedule pressures. Onshore managers prioritize safety over schedule and cost pressures. Those are what the LLM wants you to ask. In terms of the value of the responses, they're all within a tenth except for that one being 2/10 difference. So there is significant similarity between the suggestions that they're making. So there's some consistency. And this is an important step, is to check your test questions with multiple LLMs to make sure that they give consistent responses. Now, once your questions are set up, you can use LLMs as a benchmarking tool. So it's a 3-prompt process. Determine the baseline, compare to baseline, and then write a report. And you have to use 3 separate prompts, because if you use one prompt to say, develop a baseline and compare this to the baseline and here are the initial responses, it will have information about the survey, which it's hard for it to separate. So first of all, you have to give it the questions, tell it to get a baseline, give it the actual, and then write a report in 3 steps. And when you do this, you're looking for 3 different patterns. Pattern 1, the LLM predicts high and it's actually high. And that may mean that the question is favorably worded or the topic may be simple to have positive responses for. The second pattern is the LLM predicts high and it's actually low. This is the most informative pattern. A clear organizational weakness is likely. The LLM thinks it's going to be positive and it's not. Basically indicates that you got a response that was different than you expected. And most groups would be favorable, but your specific organization is negative on this. And if this occurs, that topic deserves focused attention. Now, if the LLM predicts low and it's actually low, this item may be either awkwardly worded or it may be a topic that's generally difficult in this context across the entire industry when given to any individual. And the fourth pattern is the LLM predicts low, the actual is high. And this is likely a organizational strength. The organization performs above expectations in this area and that the LLM anticipated to be challenging. So we can pick out our strengths and our weaknesses relative to expectations. And in some ways, these strengths and weaknesses relative to expectations are as interesting as the absolute strengths and weaknesses when you're writing up findings. And this is just an example that was constructed. I put on this example that, and this was fake data, that you had a score that was fairly high for this question, onshore managers never put schedule above cost and safety, and it was high, and that indicates that your organization seriously outperformed the expectations on this question and might be considered a major strength. And how you attribute that strength would probably be to employees' view of managers and their safety commitment. Thank you for watching this. Please read the associated guide note that gets into more detail on the topics.